exploring worlds, but in truth, we were waking them up.
You are not a warrior. You are a vessel.
Awa, take him or save him, but do not stay silent.
These are not just jungles. They are memory, and they have not forgotten us.
The year is 2154. Earth is still Earth, only more crowded, more polluted, and harder to survive in unless you're rich or useful. Jake Sully is neither. Once a Marine, now a paraplegic, Jake spends his days watching other people walk past him, literally and figuratively. He lost the use of his legs in combat, a spinal injury that came with no glory, just the promise of a cure he can't afford on his meager military pension. The nights are harder. One night, in a smoky bar thick with sweat, cheap alcohol, and cheaper conversation, Jake watches a man slap a woman across the face. No one moves. No one even blinks. Jake, in his wheelchair, doesn't hesitate. He rolls forward, fast and deliberate, yanks the bar stool out from under the man, and knocks him to the floor. Then Jake drops down after him, fists flying. A few people cheer. Most pretend it's not happening. The bouncers don't cheer. They throw Jake out onto the wet asphalt without a second thought. Lying in a puddle, half-soaked, half-conscious, Jake hears footsteps. Two men in dark suits approach, standing over him like they're looking at a piece of broken machinery. They're with the RDA, the Resources Development Administration. One of them says Jake's brother is dead, Tommy Sully, shot and killed in a mugging just hours ago. Jake doesn't react at first. It doesn't land. They were twins, but very different men. Tommy was the smart one, the scientist. Jake was the grunt. They hadn't spoken much lately. The agents don't offer condolences. They're not here for comfort. They're here with a proposition. Tommy was part of a critical RDA project, expensive, long-term, and genetically exclusive. But there's a loophole. Jake and Tommy were identical twins, same DNA. That means Jake can take his brother's place on the project. The job isn't on Earth. It's on Pandora, a distant moon in the Alpha Centauri system. Jake doesn't ask about the science. He doesn't care. What matters is the contract includes a paycheck big enough to buy new legs, a full neuro-regeneration procedure. The agents tell him the ship leaves soon. It's cryo-sleep for nearly 6 years. No time to mourn, no time to think. Just sign the papers and pack. Jake has nothing left on Earth. No purpose, no future, and now, no brother. So he signs. Jake sleeps for 5 years, 6 months, and 22 days. His body frozen in cryo while the ship hurtles through deep space toward Pandora, a habitable moon orbiting the gas giant Polyphemus in the Alpha Centauri system. When he wakes, his breath clouds the air and his muscles ache from disuse. Gravity feels strange. The others look equally dazed, but there's no time for adjustment. The atmosphere outside is toxic to humans. Inhale it, and you're unconscious in 20 seconds, dead in 4 minutes. Every new arrival is issued a rebreather mask, and the warning is simple. Forget it once, and you die. Pandora, from the safety of a ship window, is stunning, lush, vibrant, alive in a way Earth no longer is. But when the dropship touches down and the doors open, that beauty hits harder. The air is thick with mist. Towering trees, alien birds, and distant howls fill the horizon. It's wild, untamed, and dangerous. Jake and the other new arrivals are met by Colonel Miles Quaritch, head of RDA Security. Quaritch's welcome is blunt. Pandora is no paradise, it's hostile, and the jungle will kill them if they're careless. Everything out there has teeth, claws, or poison. And then there are the Na'vi, the planet's indigenous people. Humanoid in appearance, but 8 to 9 feet tall, blue-skinned and highly territorial. According to Quaritch, they're not just dangerous, they're deadly. Arrows dipped in neurotoxin can stop a man in seconds. Jake is then introduced to Dr. Norm Spellman, a scientist who trained for years to work on Pandora. Norm is surprised to see Jake instead of Tommy, but he quickly adjusts. After all, the DNA match is what matters. They're both here to operate avatars, hybrid bodies made from human and Na'vi DNA, designed to be controlled remotely by a human mind. Scientists use them to safely explore Pandora and engage with the Na'vi. Jake's avatar was built for Tommy, but because they're identical twins, Jake can link with it seamlessly. Next, Jake meets Dr. Grace Augustine, head of the Avatar program. She immediately sizes him up and doesn't like what she sees. She wanted Tommy, a trained xenobotanist, not a jarhead with no scientific background. To her, Jake is a liability, a distraction, a body with no brains behind it. She storms off to complain to Parker Selfridge, the RDA administrator overseeing the entire operation. Parker doesn't care about the science, he cares about profits. He reminds Grace that the mission is funded by the mining of a rare mineral called unobtainium, worth $20 million per kilo. The only things standing in the way of the RDA's operations are the Na'vi. Grace argues that it's RDA's own aggression that's poisoned relations. Parker tells her to stay focused on diplomacy, teach the Na'vi, talk to them, make them move. Or else. Despite Grace's objections, Jake is cleared to begin Avatar operations. He links for the first time, and the connection is immediate. His mind wakes up inside a 10-foot-tall Na'vi body, strong, fast, alive. More importantly, it has working legs. Against orders, Jake bolts from the lab, running out into the daylight. The feeling of standing again overwhelms him. He pushes boundaries, jogs through the compound, sprints into the wild until the staff finally catch up to bring him back. He's reckless, but his adaptability surprises everyone. He's introduced to Trudy Chacon, a combat pilot assigned to transport the science team. She's friendly, professional, and clearly amused by Jake's enthusiasm. Trudy flies Jake and the team out to their field station where Jake will begin learning the ropes. Quaritch sees potential in Jake. He asks him to play a dual role, work with Grace, but report back to him. He wants Jake to gather intel on the Na'vi, customs, Weaknesses, anything that could help if diplomacy fails and force becomes necessary. In exchange, Quaritch promises him something no one else can, a ticket home with new legs. Jake agrees. He tells himself it's just a job. Get in, learn what they want, get out. But the wildness of Pandora calls to something buried deep in him, and though he doesn't know it yet, he's already changing. The forest is alive in ways Jake never imagined. On his first real expedition, Trudy flies him, Grace, and Norm deep into Pandora's wild terrain. As the ship descends, Jake stares out at the sprawling jungle below. Ancient, towering trees, bioluminescent plants, and a whole ecosystem that pulses with unseen energy. Grace lands near an old school built for the Na'vi, now abandoned. Bullet holes in the walls tell the story. Grace doesn't explain much, just says the Na'vi learned everything they needed to know about humans. While Grace and Norm collect samples, Jake, curious and restless, wanders off. He stumbles into the territory of a hammerhead Titano there, a massive armored creature that charges. Jake runs, adrenaline kicking in, but one threat turns into many. A pack of viper wolves gives chase, snarling through the underbrush. He's separated from the others and dives off a cliff into a waterfall to escape. Alone and unarmed, Jake survives the night only barely, fending off attacks with fire and desperation. Just as another wave of creatures closes in, a Na'vi woman appears from the shadows. She kills the beasts with swift, efficient movements. Her name is Neytiri. Jake thanks her, but she doesn't take it well. Killing the animals wasn't something to celebrate. It was sad, a waste. She says it's his fault. He's like a baby, stumbling around, causing disruption. He asks why she saved him. She replies that his heart is strong, though he's still stupid. When he begs her to teach him, she laughs bitterly. Humans can't be taught. They don't see. She turns to leave, but something strange happens. Dozens of luminous floating seeds drift from the sky and land softly on Jake. Neytiri's eyes widen. The seeds are from the Tree of Souls, sacred and seen as pure spirits. A sign. She leads him through the jungle to her people. When they arrive at Home Tree, the massive, hollowed-out structure that houses the Omaticaya clan, the reaction is immediate, hostile. Neytiri speaks quickly to calm the warriors. Her father, a Tukon, chief of the clan, is wary. Her mother, Moat, the spiritual leader, studies Jake with sharp eyes. He says he wants to learn. Moat responds, "It is hard to fill a cup that is already full." Jake replies, "My cup is empty." She decides to give him a chance. Neytiri will be his teacher. Back at the RDA compound, Grace is stunned. No human has ever been accepted into the Na'vi like this. Parker and Quaritch are thrilled for a different reason. Jake now has a way in. His mission: learn their customs, find their weaknesses, and help the RDA convince them to move. Just got a massive advantage. Jake splits his life in two. By day, he wakes in the Avatar body and lives with the Na'vi. By night, he returns to the human compound and files reports. He trains with Neytiri, struggling at first. The language, the movement, the connection to the land, all of it foreign. But he learns fast. Neytiri is patient, then impressed. She teaches him to hunt, to bond with animals through neural connections, to move through the forest as part of it, not apart from it. Grace watches closely. Jake is changing. She sees it in his posture, in his eyes when he talks about the Na'vi. Concerned about Quaritch's influence, Grace moves the science team out to a remote site, away from the RDA base. She's done playing both sides. One night, Jake and Neytiri talk about her sister, Silwanin. She was once Grace's student too, but after an RDA bulldozer flattened part of the forest, she and a group of Na'vi fought back. They fled to the school, thinking it was a safe place. RDA troops followed and killed them. Since then, the Na'vi haven't returned. Jake listens. He doesn't defend the RDA. He doesn't know how to. Weeks pass. Jake grows fluent in their language, agile in their customs. He begins to understand their spiritual beliefs, how all life on Pandora is connected through Awa, the guiding force of the planet. Energy isn't destroyed, only borrowed, and one day it must be returned. These aren't just primitive ideas. They're rooted in a reality Jake is only beginning to comprehend. Eventually, Neytiri tells him he's ready for the final test. Bonding with an Ikran, the fierce, dragon-like banshees that fly over Pandora's floating mountains. Every Na'vi warrior forms a lifelong bond with one. It's dangerous. Many fail. Jake climbs the cliffs with a group of initiates, battles a wild Ikran, and succeeds. He earns the right to ride. Neytiri is proud. One day while flying, Jake glimpses something new, an enormous, luminous tree hidden deep in the forest. Grace calls it the Tree of Souls. She says readings from the area suggest something extraordinary is happening there, biologically and neurologically. No one understands it fully. Time passes. Jake forgets to file a report. Then another. Flying with Neytiri, laughing, hunting, sleeping under glowing trees. His human life feels like a fading memory. He tells himself he's gathering intel, but the lie wears thin. Quaritch pulls him aside. He's got what he needs. The RDA has mapped everything. Locations, weaknesses, numbers. Jake's mission is complete. He'll be shipped back home soon, and the spinal surgery will be waiting. But Jake hesitates. There's one more thing. A ceremony is coming. The final step to becoming one of the people. Jake wants to go through with it. Maybe then he can convince them to relocate voluntarily. Quaritch allows it, but the clock is ticking. The Na'vi gather beneath the Tree of Voices, where the memories of ancestors can be heard through the roots. Jake connects. What he hears stuns him. Voices, emotions, knowledge, something real. Neytiri tells him this is Awa, alive in all things. She says Jake can now choose a mate. He chooses her. That night, beneath the sacred tree, they bond, fully, physically, spiritually. Neytiri calls it the making of a true Na'vi. And for the first time in a long time, Jake feels whole. Morning breaks with a rumble beneath the soil. Jake and Neytiri lie curled beneath the Tree of Voices, the memory of the night before still heavy in the air. Intimate, sacred. But something is wrong. Neytiri hears it first. The distant groan of metal, the vibration of machines. She shakes Jake awake, panicked. He reaches out to connect to his avatar body. But it's too late. His human body is still asleep, disconnected, unaware. The bulldozers arrive, massive, crawling, and blind to everything but their objective. They tear through the forest, ripping apart the sacred trees and toppling the spirits of Awa without a pause. The same machines Silwanin once stood against. Neytiri screams for Jake, but he's not there, not in the way she needs him. When Jake finally links back in, it's chaos. He sprints into the destruction, climbs atop one of the bulldozers, and smashes the camera to stop the blind advance. But the damage is done. The Na'vi are enraged. This was not just land. They destroyed a holy site. A wound cut into their spirit. Word travels fast. When Jake meets with the Na'vi to plead for peace, the truth catches up to him. They ask how he knew about the attack, how he always knew just a little too much. And then he tells them. He was sent by the RDA to learn their ways, to gain their trust, to prepare them to move. The betrayal crushes Neytiri. She steps back, eyes full of grief. She trusted him, loved him, and he was a spy. Jake tries to explain how it changed, how he changed, but none of it matters. The truth has its own weight. They bind him and Grace, strip them of their honor. It's over. Back at the compound, Parker and Quaritch don't waste time. Jake and Grace are cut off from their avatars, pulled from the link and thrown into detention. The home tree must be cleared. The biggest unobtainium deposit on Pandora lies beneath it, and diplomacy has failed. Quaritch preps the gunships. He calls it a tactical relocation. In truth, it's an eviction by fire. Jake pleads with Parker. These people aren't savages. Their beliefs, their connection to Awa, it's not superstition. It's real. There's a biological network, something profound in the planet's design. Parker doesn't care. He's got quotas to meet, investors to satisfy. He gives Jake 1 hour to convince the Na'vi to leave, or they're going in. Jake reconnects and rushes to the Na'vi. Neytiri won't meet his eyes. They listen, but not with hope. When he admits that the attack is coming, they spit his words back at him. He says he's one of them, but all they see is betrayal. Then the sky darkens. Quaritch's ships arrive. Missiles rain down. Explosions rock the base of Home Tree as fire engulfs its ancient roots. The Na'vi fight, but their arrows are nothing against gunships. Atukan, Neytiri's father, is killed in the collapse, and hundreds more are buried beneath the fallen tree. The forest screams. Neytiri weeps. In the chaos, Moat cuts Jake and Grace loose. She doesn't forgive him, but she sees what's coming. They need everyone who can fight. Back at the lab, Parker orders their arrest. Quaritch personally arrives to shut them down. Trudy, disgusted, turns on her own. She breaks them out and escapes with Jake, Grace, and Norm. But during the escape, Quaritch shoots Grace. She's bleeding out. Jake knows only one place might save her. They fly to the Tree of Souls. Jake falls to his knees beneath the glowing branches. He begs the Navy to help. Moat agrees to try. They will attempt a soul transfer to send Grace's consciousness into her avatar, but it's risky. Her wounds are deep. The tribe gathers and begins the ritual. They sing, sway, connect their cues to the tree, forming a web of life that pulses with light. Jake holds Grace's hand as she slips into unconsciousness. For a moment, her eyes flutter open. She whispers that she sees Awa, that it's real. Then she's gone. Her body stills. Moat shakes her head. Awa tried, but her wounds were too great. Jake stands there, trembling. This is the cost, his mission, his silence, his betrayal. All of it led here. Something inside him breaks and reforms. That night, Jake climbs the floating mountains, alone with nothing but purpose. He seeks the most feared creature in the skies of Pandora, the Toruk. No one has ridden one in generations, only 5 in all history. But legends say that when one does, it is in a time of great sorrow to unite the clans. Jake finds it, battles it, and wins. He flies back to the Tree of Souls as Toruk Makto, the rider of Last Shadow. The Na'vi stare in awe. Neytiri watches, stunned. The man who betrayed them has returned as their champion. Jake lands and kneels before Neytiri. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. She sees it now. His truth. Jake takes down the bomber with Neytiri by his side. Quaritch crashes but survives, crawling into a battle suit, fueled by rage. He finds Jake's link chamber, smashes it open. Jake, still inside, begins to suffocate. Quaritch is about to kill him when Neytiri arrives. She kills Quaritch with 2 arrows, then places a mask on Jake's human body. For the first time, she sees his real face, his fragile human form. She touches it with reverence. The war is over. The RDA is forced to leave. Earth's greed, its machines, its empire, defeated by something it couldn't understand. Jake stays. Norm stays. The Na'vi accept them. One final ceremony remains. Beneath the Tree of Souls, Jake lies down in the grass, his human body frail and failing. The tribe gathers. The light swirls again. They chant, sway, connect. His consciousness begins to drift from one body into another. And then he opens his eyes, blue, tall, alive, no longer a visitor, no longer torn between 2 worlds. Jake Sully is Na'vi now, for real, forever.